We're two hitchhikers. We met while hiking Mount Baldy with mutual friends, wasted no time, got engaged on a frozen alpine lake, got hitched, and have been adventuring together since. We're embarking on a new adventure of living big in a tiny home. Let's see how this goes.
Adventure awaits.
We are at Laguna Beach.
Yay!
We're actually getting a smog done because we have to get our DMV paperwork taken care of.
So what better place to do this in Laguna?
Yes.
Visiting old friends.
So while we're waiting for the smog to be done, we're gonna enjoy some surf before we head out on our long road trip.
Yep. Here we go.
What road trip, you ask? Well, have you ever heard of the PANAMERICAN Highway? Some consider it the longest road in the world, but technically it is a series of roads stretching across the Americas, and depending on the exact route taken, it's somewhere around 19,000 miles in total length. We're setting out to do a portion of it now. Now, we are not doing all 19,000 miles of it. Our final destination is Costa Rica. The first section takes us from Northern California down to Southern California. We're making the majority of the trip with our good friend Jimmy and taking 2 vehicles down. So being in Southern California gives us the opportunity to surprise family and give everybody quick hugs before heading on our journey south. Well, technically we're heading east first, then we're heading south. Way south. Our first destination is San Antonio, Texas, which means driving through Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas.
I think he's already on his way.
We just filled up here for gas in El Paso.
Yep.
And it's like almost 3 o'clock in the morning here. We have been driving for about 12 hours and we have another
9 hours to go.
Not quite that long.
8 hours.
Not the way you two are driving right now.
Oh, these are true things. It's more like 45 minutes, but who's counting, right?
Correct. We have about 700 miles to go.
So like 30 minutes.
No. I checked it. Sorry. It's like 500 miles.
Oh, 20 minutes. There you go.
I was able to sleep a couple of hours during the night, but by the time dawn was breaking, Ruben needed a little break, so it was time for me to take over. And if you know me, you know that my mornings must start with coffee. This is where we're eating. Thank you.
That's gonna be a bit over. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yay, we just had our Texas barbecue.
It was delicious.
We got our fix and it was amazing. Jimmy did not join us because Jimmy is the only one that drove without a single minute of nap of anything. So Ruben drove most of the way. but then I took over for like 2.5 hours, 2 hours, something like that. But anyhow, in total, from Northern California to here, we have driven, what did we calculate? 2,300 miles?
2,300 miles, yeah.
So yeah, what we did in 24 hours yesterday was 1,600. No, 1,600.
1,600.
And we feel like the trip is finally going to start now.
I know.
Because tomorrow we cross the border.
Because from our home to Los Angeles to here is a total of 2,300 miles. So,
Yep.
adventure
Awaits!
Yee.
Day one, here we go. All right, I have no idea if you can see my face or not. It's still very dark. It is about 5:30 in the morning, and we just had a little rainstorm. We're sitting at the border, and Ruben and Jimmy are headed inside to customs to pay the import tax on both vehicles. Now, the website said that they're open 24 hours. When we drove by, they looked closed, but Ruben and Jimmy have been gone for about 5 minutes, so I'm hoping that that is a good sign. And hopefully the next time I'm filming, we are free and clear and driving south into Mexico. So the adventure has begun.
In the most terrible fashion.
We crossed at this particular border crossing, which says that the Banjercito, which is where you have to import the cars, is open 24 hours a day.
Which it is.
It is. So Ruben and Jimmy went inside and they were able to help us, but we come to find out that they don't import cars at this location on Sundays.
They only import cars that are going to stay in Mexico, not through Mexico.
And of course, this information is not available on the website. So we are going to a different border crossing. We're back in the U.S. now. That was the quickest I've been in Mexico ever.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing that the border crossing on the way back, there was like 2 cars in front of us, so that was super easy. So now we're headed to a different border crossing, and hopefully we have more luck. That is the one to go to when you are importing a car that is going to drive
Anywhere in Mexico.
Adventure awaits.
See, and that person's driving the wrong side of the road.
Yeah, that was weird.
That.
This is like our 4th attempt at coming to a Walmart to find this specialty that Jimmy can only get here at Walmart and stateside. So, since we're back here stateside and have to go to a different border crossing, might as well try for the tea again. Okay, let's clarify things a bit. In order to drive any foreign plated vehicle outside of 25 kilometers of the land border, you need to pay an import tax to do so. Now, there are some free zones, such as Baja California, that do not require this. We want to make sure we do this properly for both vehicles, that way we don't risk any hefty fees or possible confiscation. We also want to make sure that we have no problems exiting Mexico when we get to Guatemala. And we're returning stateside. Well, when life throws you lemons, you make lemonade, right? Isn't that what they say? Even though we had 2 failed border attempt crossings today, we're making the most of it. We drove to South Padre Island, and we are just taking in the sights over here. We were told that the Banjercito at the Los Indios border crossing opens at 8. So we're up at 6 and we're out the door by 6:30.
All right, let's hope third time is the charm.
Well, we sure hope we don't have to get turned around this morning, because instead of 3 cars, it'll be these cars.
And we're off.
We made it through! Third time is a charm. It took about 2 hours total to show proof of registration, title, insurance, and pay the fees. We provide many details on the customs process to drive into the mainland part of Mexico towards the end of the video, so be sure to watch through to the end.
Top Gun coming, Top Gun. Be careful what you wish for.
I love to drive in the rain. 3 wheels, 2 wheels on the road. It's always an adventure.
We drove about 5 hours to Tampico, where we plan to rest for the evening before the very long drive the next day. And can you believe it? I forgot the wine opener. So we use the old, trusted shoe method. Yes, this works.
Front teeth, they're too sharp.
You've got to be sure to use a shoe with a good amount of cushion.
Cut.
And then the pressure from the pounding on the walls will make the cork pop. Okay, we are leaving Tampico and we have approximately a 12 or 13 hour drive ahead of us. So we are getting an early start and hoping this day goes well. Okay, so we came upon another toll and we ran out of pesos at the last toll booth. So we tried to pay with American cash, they don't accept it. We tried to pay with card, they don't accept it. So
Bring pesos. A lot of them. More than you need.
we'll figure out a solution. Stay tuned.
And so they're going to be coming in about 30 minutes. And then most of those people carry cash. So if not, we have to go back the way we came and go the non-toll way. We got 120 bucks. We're 30 pesos short.
For both cars?
No, for one car.
Okay.
So I have to ask more people as they come.
It's close to 7 o'clock and we're still sitting here trying to figure things out. Ruben and Jimmy are trying to see what they can do with exchanging cash with some of the truck drivers and construction workers that are rolling up right now. And yeah, so far it's just been a good, eventful morning. We left Tampico around 5 o'clock. Mosquitoes are hovering. And it's very humid here. There's a lot of mosquitoes. So even though it's like close to 80 degrees, I'm pretty much covered up and I have a blanket on my lap because they like me. They can tell I'm a tourist. Anyhow, yes, it was an eventful type of drive this morning. We left at 5 o'clock and it was very dark, and we truly understand why they, suggest not to drive at night here, because sometimes the roads are clear and great and smooth, and other times you cannot see the paint on the road, and there are a lot of potholes, and when it's raining and it's very foggy, it makes it a little bit stressful. But we had a good time. We had good conversation this morning, trying to keep each other from focused on stress and more on just the adventure of everything. So we're still sitting here and trying to figure out how we get out of this little bump in the road. Speaking of bumps in the road, they have legit speed bumps here and they give you no warning. They may have been painted at one point in the past, but they really surprise you here. And when you're going 45 kilometers an hour, you just find yourself hitting the brakes or going for a little whee! yeah, so it's been fun, you know. All right, here we go. Let us through. Let us through.
It's $350 per car.
Yeah, I was looking at the one on the right, which said 165.
We're gonna have to go back to square one a little bit. This is the way that we're gonna take to get to the little stores over there to get more change.
So we needed $1 more worth of pesos, so the police officer exchanged for us. And we need to go that way to go where we want to go, but to get to the little town, we have to go this way. This is a shortcut, so yay, he's saving us quite a bit of time.
Gracias.
And he's out of the toll booth too. Yay.
All right.
So now we need to find a bank or a place that will cambiar our dollars to pesos.
Yep.
Okay, so the first little convenience store that we went into did not have change. So Ruben went inside there to see if they can do it here. This is a grocery store. I can't tell if that's a smile of success or not.
But Electra is an exchange house, so I'm gonna put it in my phone. Go there. We're gonna have
Well, after a couple of stops, Ruben found a bank with an ATM. We didn't have to wait for any tellers to be open, so we're off on the road to adventure with pesos.
with pesos this time.
We did not account for the multitude of toll booths that they had, nor did we account for the high cost of each toll. We quickly ran out of pesos at these toll booths and had to go searching for another bank.
Is that the bank?
We're trying to find a bank. I don't think the bank is back here.
No, it's not.
We had clear skies and we had rain. We had lots of rain. Lots and lots of rain. The rain started to let up a little bit as we got closer to our destination, Palenque in the state of Chiapas.
That thing looked like an ice cream cone.
The weather was warm, but just comfortable enough to take a little walk up the block and enjoy a family-run restaurant, which was suggested to us by our Airbnb host. All right, it is a little bit later start than we're supposed to get. Ruben and I slept in a little bit because because it's raining.
This sounds amazing.
Yes, it's very relaxing, but we're headed to the Guatemala border this morning, and we have to go through the whole process of exiting the car from Mexico, hopefully getting our deposit back, which we expect to, and then paying the tips.
No, it's just.
Yeah, we have to do it in Guatemala too.
Oh, yeah.
We have to check in the car in Guatemala.
See.
Our tire pressure light just came on, so we're giving it a quick check here. So we got about 30 minutes on our drive this morning to the Guatemala border, and then the notification came on that tire pressure went way down. So we thought we hit a nail, but it's looking like the tire is just low suddenly. So we have the necessary gear to get things taken care of pretty quickly. And then once we get into a little town, then we'll stop at a llanteria and then see if they can sort of check it out a little bit further. But so far so good. We're just airing up, and then we'll be on our way.
All right, so the tire pressure light turned on. The car drove perfectly fine. I didn't feel anything, but we don't want to get stuck on the side of the road because of a flat tire. So we double checked and found out that all 4 tires were actually low, but the right rear was a little bit lower than most. So it's a big complicated story when it comes to those things. But if a tire gets cool, the pressure in the tire gets low, and then the tire pressure light turns on. That's basically what happened.
So what he's trying to say is we're okay for now.
See.
The border crossing we are going through is El Ceibo, which is much newer and much less known than the busier one, which will take most people through Guatemala City. This one will take us through more rural parts. At the end of Mexico.
Yep.
All right, here are a few tips to keep in mind if you plan to drive into the mainland part of Mexico. If you drive within 25 kilometers of the U.S.-Mexico border, outside of those particular free states like Baja California, for example, you will need to pay the tax import fee. This is also known as tip. Now, you can do this at customs, which is the aduanas, and these can only be done at the border. You cannot do this once you've crossed over into Mexico. It is important to know this because if you don't do this, you will not be able to exit the vehicle out of Mexico when you try to drive out on the other side or back on the side that you came in. Now, the aduanas itself is customs. Now, those are likely to be open whenever the border says that they're open, so you can look online. But to process the fee, this has to be done through Banjercito, and this is the bank organization that is authorized to process these fees. Their hours are different, and that is the hiccup and challenge or two that we ran into at the border when we initially tried to cross. So do your research. There are a couple of U.S. consulates that can do this process for you in advance, but you'll have to do the research again. When you cross into the border, you will need to get a vehicle inspection done. The aduanas will do this for you. They will go through everything, and you will then be required to pay taxes on any items that are new or non-personal. Personal items include clothing, food, snacks, water, etc. You will be required to pay a tax per person to enter. We paid $20 US cash because we were on the US-Mexico border. We also had to pay the tax per vehicle to enter. We did this through credit card with the banjercito, which is the window right next door to the aduanas. And we did this so that we could be sure that we would get our credit back on the credit card once we exited Mexico on the Guatemala border. You will be required to bring the originals for each vehicle. This includes the title, the registration, the Mexican insurance, the driver's license, and passport of the person driving. You will also need to bring copies. Now, you can make copies at the border. Usually they're open at the same time, but it's probably good just to do this in advance. Also keep in mind that the vehicle you are bringing in, it must be owned by one of the persons who is actually entering the country. You cannot drive another person's vehicle into the country. Tolls. This is something, as you saw, that we sort of had to learn trial by fire with. The tolls themselves are worth taking because they get you from point A to point B on a much more maintained road. It's a lot smoother and you can get there with a lot greater ease and speed. But you have to pay the fee. So these fees were actually a little bit more frequent and highly priced than we anticipated. The tolls each ranged from the equivalent of about $2 to $20 US per car. So we ran out of pesos pretty quickly, as you saw. So just be sure you bring enough pesos and you should be fine. Well, hopefully you found this video entertaining and a bit helpful, especially if you plan on driving into mainland Mexico and trying a piece of the Pan American Highway for yourself. Despite many concerns that people have about safety, we felt very safe driving the entire length of Mexico. Upon exiting Mexico at the border crossing, you have to check yourself out, and then you also have to check the vehicles out. The vehicles also have to go through another inspection. It is at this point, when you are clear to exit Mexico, that you can then go to the Guatemalan side and enter Guatemala, but we'll cover that entry process in the next video. If we have any updates or edits, we'll be sure to put those in the notes below. Be sure to check back next Sunday for a new video on Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. We know this video was a little longer than usual, but we had a lot to share and we truly appreciate you following along. Have a great week and we'll see you next Sunday.